Happy Nurses Week, everyone! Welcome to a week filled of testimonials, games, giveaways, and live events celebrating the resiliency and strength of nurses across the globe. We hope that you are having the best Nurses Week ever. You all deserve it. Hopefully, you're getting some great items, some great recognition. So this year's Nurses Week theme is Rooted in Strength, and we are taking this week to celebrate the resiliency of the travel nurse community. No one else has worked as hard as you guys, especially in the past 2 years, but during your whole nursing career, you've gone above and beyond. So we just want to thank you so much for everything that you do. We want to thank Fusion Marketplace for being this year's Nurses Week sponsor. So be sure to check them out. And then we have some giveaways. So if you register to become a Gypsy Nurse, a member of the gypsynurse.com, or log into your existing account during Nurses Week celebration, May 6th through the 12th. So we're on the 9th. So the 9th through the 12th, you'll be automatically entered to win the following. So we have great travel nurse swag from our Nurses Week sponsor, Fusion Marketplace. We have $500 in rental credit from our official housing sponsor, Furnish Finder. And you'll be entered to win a Don't Call Me a Hero and then Throw Me a Pizza Party shirt. So you will get one of these t-shirts. You'll be entered to win for that. And then also if you comment or interact, ask questions in the session, you'll be entered to win the t-shirt as well. All of the above. So today I have Brandy Pinkerton from Travel Nurse 101, and she's here to discuss the strengths for success in the travel nursing world. So let me go ahead and bring on Brandy. Hi, Brandy.
Hi, Rachel. How are you?
Good. Are you enjoying Nurses Week?
I am. Thank you so much for asking me to be here today, and happy Nurses Week to all of you rock star nurses out there. I'm so proud of you, and you're making a difference in your patients' lives, even though it often doesn't feel like you are. But I'm always here cheering you guys on.
Definitely. Well, I will let you take it away.
Yeah, well, thank you for everybody being here today. We're going to talk about the top 5 strengths for success in the travel nursing world today. So one of the number one things as a travel nurse that will set you up for success is to have adaptability. It's like the most important skill that you need to have as a travel nurse, because you're going to be thrown into a new atmosphere with new coworkers and maybe even a new way of doing things. So there's more than one right way to do things. So they often want you to do it their way. So being adaptable is super important. If you can adapt to new settings and environments, then you have an advantage when it comes to being a travel nurse. Moving from place to place every 3 months is really hard. So it helps you grow professionally and personally if you can adapt. As a travel nurse, you have to be adaptable because so many things often don't go to plan. Your start date can be delayed. You can have trouble with your housing. There's so many little hiccups that can happen. So, as a travel nurse, it's so important to just be able to let those things kind of roll off your back a little bit, so to speak. And I'm super type A, and I like to have a plan with everything. So it's super hard for me, or it was at first. But even though if you have that type of personality, it doesn't mean that you can't be a travel nurse. You just have to be willing to make some changes. And again, you're going to grow personally and professionally from learning to be more adaptable. And often things go better than you ever expected when you kind of have that open mindset.
Definitely. Yeah. I want to add too, because when you don't have all those expectations and you're like, it has to be exactly like this, it's good to have a plan, but be flexible with that plan. So I definitely agree with that.
Yep. And it's so hard because we do build up our expectations, and, sometimes expectations are the root of all heartache. I feel like that quote is so true. And I try to just lower my expectations a little bit. So another trait that is super important that will set you up for success as a travel nurse is being flexible. Being able to compromise and change is so important. You need to be capable of quickly changing the way you work to best fit the employer's needs. And I know that that really stinks in a way, but as a travel nurse, you are there to help them. You're there to kind of jump in and fit in for their needs and their schedule. So it's super important to try really hard to be a team player and offer help to the other nurses. That will also help set you up for success, and that will help them think that you're a team player too and treat you as so. You also, like I mentioned, you have to be willing to fill in their needs and their schedule, and having a flexible, positive mindset will help set you up for success. Another really important trait that you need to have as a travel nurse is good communication skills. And personally, this is something that I have to continuously work on. I feel like some people are really good at communicating and others aren't. And for me personally, this is something I have to work on every single day. But, joining a new team for a short time means you need to communicate effectively. Keeping important things to yourself or being too closed off, saying offensive things, talking about pay will not win you friends on a new assignment. So I encourage you to kind of keep those things to yourself. You need to be able to communicate in a clear, positive, professional way. That way, not only with the hospital, but with your company and your recruiter as well, because you need to keep them in the loop that if anything changes in your assignment, as well as just kind of for them to know what your must-haves and your deal breakers are, you need to be able to effectively communicate that to them. So I have some pro tips to have good communication skills. Obviously consider who you're speaking to and be able to, if you know your audience, that way you'll best be able to express the message that you're trying to give them. Anticipate and deal with all causes of confusion, and make sure to ask them questions to make sure that they understand. Also, I really encourage you in a way of communication is that first week, go meet your manager, go chat with them, communicate with them, and just maintain that open line of communication with that nursing manager throughout your entire assignment, because that will also help set you up for success. Another thing, this is really, really a big one. And I think this is for all nurses, not even just travel nurses. And, the last couple of years have been so, so hard as being a nurse, but a skill that is so important to possess as a nurse, and especially as a travel nurse, is resiliency. Personal resilience is a strategy that nurses can use to survive and thrive in this profession. It is truly a hard profession right now, but creating and maintaining a professional network, self-care strategies, and a good work-life balance is key to helping you be resilient as a nurse. And again, like I said, this one's coming straight from the heart, because it's been so hard, everything that the nurses have gone through, that we've all had to experience the last couple years to maintain that resiliency. And it's so important to take care of yourself. And, I talked a lot about that, and I just don't want anyone to lose sight of that. And you have to personally take time for yourself and self-care, because if you don't, no one else will. And that means, having that proper work-life balance is so important. For you to have job satisfaction, you have to be in a good mental health state, obviously. And so that's really, really been hard and challenging for the nursing community these last couple years. And it's so important to maintain those boundaries. I know for me personally, I feel so guilty when I get a text message on my day off and they're asking for extra help, and I feel guilty. But we've got to learn that saying no is okay, and that it's self-preservation, and that's fine. And that helps us in the long run, because, as we get more burnt out and feel stressed, we dread going to work, all, period. And so you don't want to put yourself in that situation by overdoing it. And so it is okay to say no. It's okay to not even reply back. I used to felt like so anxious. I'm like, what do I say back? And I'm like, you know what? Like, I don't have to respond back every time they send me a text that they're, short staffed, because really, if we go in and we're already burnout and stressed, we're not doing anything to really help anything. We're just a body being there, you know what I mean? And we're obviously likely not giving the best care that we can to those patients when we're burnout and stressed, and you cannot pour from an empty cup. So I cannot stress so much to try to maintain that work-life balance for sure. Another thing too, May is mental health month. And so I think it's kind of perfect that falls into Nurses Week as well, because our mental health is so important. And, I kind of think that our mental health as nurses has maybe even taken the biggest hit ever in the history of nurses. I know from my experience for the last 20 years, this has definitely been the worst, since the pandemic, and nurses are leaving the bedside in droves. So please take care of yourself. Make sure that you know your resources. I know it's hard. We often just kind of hold things inside and don't tell people how we feel, but please talk to people, talk to your family, use your resources. A lot of your companies, the best ones, have a clinical team that is so strong. They are there as a support system for you and can chat with you through some of the super hard times that you're having, as well as they offer EAP services to connect you with a mental health provider to really chat with you and to help you. And I'm here too, as your friend, to always have a listening ear. I want to help others, and I know that nursing is really hard right now, so I'm here for you as well. And, travel nursing, one of the biggest perks is really being able to maintain that work-life balance. So that's a huge perk of travel nursing, because you can build off time in your contract, and you can also build time for vacations and time off and self-care in between your contracts. So that's really one of the big perks that I feel like is so important about travel nursing.
What do you think? What do you like to do for your work-life balance? What's your favorite thing to do outside of work?
Yeah, well, thanks for asking. So many things. You know what? Some days that means that I don't get out of my pajamas and I order DoorDash all day, or whatever, and sit in my pajamas on the couch and watch Netflix and order DoorDash, and that is just okay. And maybe take a nap or two, and then maybe go to bed early. It's all okay. And then other days, I love to get outside. I love to get fresh air. I feel like being outdoors here, especially in Montana. I mean, it's easy to love. So, being outside in the mountains, in the fresh air, just really, really is my happy place. And so I try to get out, every day that I'm off, if the weather's good, and get out and hike or bike, and that sort of thing. Surround myself with other like-minded friends, so we can all kind of chat about what's going on in our lives and kind of vent to each other. Having that network is really important too. So that's what I like to do. But definitely Netflix in my pajamas is at the top of the list.
Me too.
Yeah. So, and the fifth skill that I think is super important, which is obvious, but it is that you should love to travel. It's not really a skill, so to speak, but it's very important not to exclude this trait for success as a travel nurse, because loving to travel is essential to being a travel nurse, obviously. Some nurses consider traveling just for the paycheck, but others more often really travel for the experience. And so that was for me. Like, I traveled for the experience. And you're moving around constantly. You have something new to look forward to, a new town, a new city to explore. And, for me, this is the biggest perk of travel nursing. And, we've kind of talked about this before, Rachel, like, you get to try on new hospitals and new places and see if you like it. And sometimes you're like, you know what, like maybe one day when I decide to stop traveling or settle down, I'll come back to this place. Or you're like, you know what, this was fun. This was a great experience, but it's time to move on to the next place. But the love for travel, the wanderlust, that is such a big, trait to have as far as when it comes to having success as a travel nurse.
Definitely. And I think too, sorry.
No, you go ahead.
Definitely, like, even if you're not super into traveling, I think once you get into some of those assignments, you'll end up falling in love with traveling. You'll fall in love with a bunch of different cities and all that stuff, and then you'll be like, ooh, where to next? So if you're worried, like, oh, I don't really like traveling, but I want to try it, like, just give it a try, because eventually I think you'll end up loving it.
Yes, I totally agree. And some people, a lot of first time travelers like, oh, I want to just stay close to home for my first assignment. And that's completely understandable. Like, it's really hard to kind of like get up the gumption to do it. But my advice is just to go for it. Like you said, Rachel, like go for it. Cut the cord. You're going to be so happy you did it. And deciding to go is the hardest part. And then after that, you're going to be like, why didn't I do this before? And, I try to be really flexible with my destinations because, it's easy to say like some of the top places in your mind that you think you'd like to go just by seeing other people's experiences, or maybe you've traveled to vacation there or whatever the reason is. But some of the smaller places and even the smaller like towns and hospitals, I've loved them the most, and they're places that I never expected to love so much. So that's why being open to where you're going is really great because, yeah. So the biggest thing too is you can develop in the areas of all of these skills that you need as a travel nurse. It just takes time, but these are definitely important traits to have as a travel nurse. And you can observe how you interact with others and reflect on areas for improvement. We're constantly like evaluating ourselves and finding ways that we can improve. And getting yourself a mentor such as myself, I'm happy to help talk you through any of the things that you're dealing with and help set you up for success. That's kind of what Travel Nurse 101 is. That's my main goal with the platform, is to being able to set you guys up for success. So, but these traits, they'll fuel you for success and help you have a better experience in your new travel nurse assignment. If you adopt the mentality that you can do anything for 13 weeks, then you're on point. That is the mentality that you need to have. It is going to fly by. It seems like 3 months is a long time, but I promise you can do anything for 13 weeks. So do we have any questions yet, Rachel?
Not yet. Everyone was just absorbing all of that, I think.
So that was kind of a lot.
Throw them in. And definitely with Mental Health Awareness Month and all that stuff, like, like you said, reach out to a mentor if you can't reach out to anybody at work, or if your agency doesn't have, the EAP, which most of them do, I feel like, even reaching out to your recruiter is always, key. If you're feeling down, just reach out to somebody. It doesn't matter who.
Yeah, I agree totally. Absolutely.
Because they might be experiencing the same thing, and you can either find help together or they already been through it, all of that. So it's always good to just talk to somebody and not just like keep it inside, especially when you're like so many miles away from home and you don't want to worry your family or anything like that. So
yeah. And other nurses, I mean, they're likely experiencing some of the same things that you are, and as when I started my nursing career, I have several like really good friends that we all started at the same time. And throughout the years and through our career, we've been in it almost 20 years now. And so, we've watched each other go in and out of these periods of, kind of burnout, and we can all watch each other do it. It's like a cyclical thing. And so the good thing is I have this network and we can see it in each other when it's happening. And we've been able to be a resource, for each other, because it does happen, like with nursing, it's really hard. There's just so many things that some days are really good and some days are really bad. And a lot of us have been at our breaking point lately. So just knowing that what you're feeling is okay. And, please, talk to people and get the resources that you need to be able to feel better about the situation. For sure.
Definitely.
And there's so many other things you can do as well. If you feel like you need to leave the bedside, that's okay too. It doesn't mean that you're any less of a nurse. You're a nurse and you're still helping people in a different way. So, working from home, there's so many options too. I'm big on travel nursing, but sometimes we all just like, I need to just step away from the bedside, period. And that is okay too.
Definitely. Well, I don't see any questions coming in. Do you have any last words for everybody?
I guess just happy Nurses Week again. Sorry that went kind of fast this time. I wasn't expecting it to go so fast, but, and I'm here cheering you on always. And I'd be happy to chat with you one-on-one and, understand your unique situation and what you're going through, whether you're just starting, to look into travel, what that is about, or you're in your assignment, or you are wanting to extend or possibly venture out to a new place in a new company, or having any issues at all. I am here to support you. Head over to travelnurse101.com. There's constantly new blogs going up that are about a lot of hot topics. The most recent ones have been about housing. That was a big hit. I was like, wow, this one got a lot of views. It showed me that there's a lot of misinformation and people want to know about housing. So that was really awesome. And then as well as I did one about what to pack. And so that's another thing that I've kind of had to learn the hard way. You literally just want to pack up your entire home. So I really narrowed that process down for you about the things that you really need to have. And if you forget something, you always can go get it, at Target or wherever you're at on your assignment. But that's another blog that I have up. And I have a couple guest blogs that are going to go up as well that you will not want to miss. So, and if you need to chat, then you can just send me a message and we can do a complimentary one-to-one mentor session and go from there.
Awesome.
And thank you again, Rachel, for having me and happy Nurses Week. And any last minute questions, guys? Anything?
We'll wait a few seconds. Yeah, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for all that you do. And thank you, everybody, for Nurses Week. We, appreciate you. Can't thank you enough. Thank you to Fusion Marketplace. And don't forget to register on thegypsynurse.com so you can win all those goodies. And, we have Anthony. Brandy is clearly a superstar mentor, obviously.
Thank you,
Anthony. Yes, thank you, Anthony. What do you think are the qualities you try to instill into a newbie in order for them to survive and thrive in travel nursing?
Sure, that kind of goes back to kind of what we were just talking about. But, I think the number one attribute is just really to be flexible. There's so many things that are evolving and changing when it comes to travel nursing. And you just have to have that mindset that you're going to roll with whatever comes your way and it's all going to be okay. Also, one of the things, I really chat a lot about when I'm giving advice to new travelers is to make sure that they have a savings account built up, because I feel like having, that cushion will help you make the best decisions for yourself when it comes to traveling and, maybe not make you feel stuck. I know that's not really related to a true skill, but it's so important because having a little financial cushion allows you that confidence to always be able to make the best decision for you. If something is thrown at you that you aren't comfortable with, it's okay that if you need to walk away or whatever that may be. But being flexible is so important. Just having a positive mindset has really set me up for success. When I go to these hospitals, they are so happy to have my help as long as I go in just willing to help them and make that very obvious and kill them with kindness, have a positive attitude. That first week is really hard. Things are so disorganized typically that first week of your assignment, and it's really hard. And for me, again, being type A and trying to plan out everything, it's super hard for me. But I just try to be positive, and I've had really good success with that, being a travel nurse with those two things for sure.
Definitely. And then we have another question from Alex. Thank you for the valuable information. I've been an OR nurse for 12 plus years, and I'm looking into traveling. Any tips on picking an agency?
Sure, absolutely. Also on travelnurse101.com, I have a whole section that talks about, the things that you really need to look for when it comes, for looking for an assignment with the company and the recruiter. So one of my main things that I talk a lot about is picking a company that is JCAHO accredited, very similar to our hospitals, just because I know, we all kind of had our doubts with JCAHO lately through the pandemic, but at the end of the day, they are still holding these places to the highest accreditation. And the same thing for the travel nurse industry. So try to pick an agency that is accredited by the Joint Commission. And then another thing that's super important, I think you really have to outline and write down your goals and what you're trying to achieve and what's important for you to have personally with the company. Majority of the big companies, they have great benefits. You want someone who has medical insurance, 401k. There are some agencies that offer paid time off, and we're human. So even as travel nurses, it's not a lot of paid time off, but it is there. It is something because we get sick too, as well as picking a company that has a big clinical team of support. That is so important. I've chatted about that before because there's things that happen on your assignment and your recruiter is not a nurse. Most of them have no medical background. So it's really great when they have a team of clinicians that you can rely on for support. If something goes wrong during your assignment, you can call them 24/7 and talk to them and tell them what's going on, and they can help guide you through that process where hopefully there's a positive outcome for everyone, that sort of thing. Another important thing is it's almost as important as picking your company, but your recruiter can make or break your experience. They're so important. You can find a good recruiter with a bad company, and then you can find a bad company with a good recruiter, which I know that sounds kind of odd, but your recruiter is so important. You have to feel like you really, really mesh well with them, that they have your back, that they're listening to what you're saying and what your needs are. But that also means that you have to effectively communicate that to them, what your needs and your must-haves and your deal breakers and what you're looking for, because it's a two-way street. But your recruiter is so important for you, and just having somebody that you have a good relationship with is very important. And if you meet some and they're like, you don't feel that they have your best interest at heart, it's okay to cut ties with them. At any point, you can just tell them, like, hey, like I'm switching recruiters. It's also okay to tell them that you're working with more than one company and recruiter. They would appreciate that honesty from you, and they should know that you're a free agent and that you are working with multiple companies, but it's still just out of consideration. It's nice to just loop them in on that so they know what to expect and they're not bugging the heck out of you. And had they known, you communicated that with them, maybe they would have communicated to you differently. Also, if you need any advice about companies and recruiters, I'm happy to connect you with some. I normally tell new travel nurses that you need 2 to 3 agencies when you start. It's just really nice. It's a lot of legwork on your end up front, but it's so important to, have a couple options and to be able to compare those companies and know that you're getting the best thing and that they have your best interest at heart.
Definitely. And Gina Rose said, a bad recruiter doesn't necessarily mean a bad company. That's so true.
Yeah, that is so true. And it's okay, to kindly say that you would like to have a new recruiter. It's okay. Everybody has different personalities. And, I've had that happen a few times, and people have asked me like, hey, Brandy, like, what do I do? How do I find a new recruiter? And I've coached people through that. So if that ever happens to you, please send me a message. I'm happy to kind of see what your unique, what's going on in your circumstance and be able to guide you in the right direction and have a positive outcome for everyone, and hopefully not too many hurt feelings along the way.
Definitely. And Gina also asked, she said, I'm thinking of going back to staff position. Smart move?
I think that you have to do what's important for you. Every one of us are at a different crossroad in our life. We have different things going on personally, professionally. So deciding that has definitely got to come from you and from your heart. I encourage you to write down the pros and the cons of both, and just kind of seeing where that takes you, as well as I feel like a lot of people, and I've done this myself. I've tried to go back staff, and then I'll go back staff for like a little while, and I already am itching, and I have this travel bug in my heart. I just do, and I just get that itch to go again. So just know that you can go back and try it. And worst case, if you give it a try and it's fitting your lifestyle for what you need right now, then it's okay. You can go back and travel later. It doesn't mean you can't travel again down the road. And same thing, if you're traveling, it doesn't mean you can't go back staff later down the road. The great thing about nursing is we can constantly change our mind, and there's so many options for us. And that's one of the biggest perks, of being a nurse, is we have options.
Definitely. And then Steve said, great advice on financial cushion. It will help you avoid rush decisions, bad decisions, take contract assignments that are right for you.
I agree.
And then he's asked too, how do you build in time off between assignments? Many travelers have been working 2 years straight, but yet still maintain a good relationship with their agency and recruiter.
That's a great question, Steve. Thank you. Sorry, my doggy is shaking in the background today and coughing. I think that a lot of nurses, we tend to make life harder for ourselves sometimes. We're like, oh, we can just keep going. We can keep doing this. Another great contract falls in their lap. It's paying high, and you just think you can keep going. But at some point, like, you've got to be able to take a break and say, you know what, like, I'm going to take a vacation. I'm going to do something for myself so I can do this long term, because it's not sustainable to work as much as some of the nurses have been working these last couple years in the conditions that they're working. In the pandemic, they're working so hard, not getting breaks, not getting bathroom breaks, wearing that PPE their entire shift. I mean, it is pure exhaustion. And so you've got to make time for yourself and just decide enough's enough. It's not going anywhere. If you're not in a good place mentally, physically, then you cannot take care of others. So I think it's so important to, try to build some time off into your contract when you're, on the interview with the manager. Just, it doesn't have to be anything crazy, but maybe request a few days off in a row where you could have a long weekend to perhaps just, if you nothing else, don't leave your house all weekend and just, literally have nothing planned. That's so nice. Or, plan a trip for your family to come visit, or plan a trip back home. And then in between your assignments, a lot of companies will insure you for up to 21 days in between your assignment. And a lot of nurses don't know that. So they feel like they just have to go straight to the next assignment. But don't let that pressure stray you from doing what's best for you and taking care of yourself. And go pamper yourself, go on a vacation. We all need it right now. These jobs aren't going anywhere. They will be waiting for you there when you're done. And also, don't let a recruiter or a company pressure you that, oh my goodness, you have to jump right into the next thing if you're not ready. Stand up for yourself and what you need mentally and physically, because if you don't stand up for yourself, no one else will.
Exactly. That's the most important thing, I think, too,
Yeah.
is
I know
standing
it's
up for
hard.
yourself. All right. Any other questions out there? She's been traveling a long time, so she's definitely. Brandy, should a travel nurse work somewhere that offers no overtime?
I think that's something that you've got to ask yourself. For first time travelers, I recommend that you go in your assignment and you just do the 36 hours. And then if they offer you overtime, fine. And if they don't, but the beginning is really a little bit overwhelming, and there's so many things happening, and you're transitioning from staff to travel nurse and a new city with new people, and having to do mandatory overtime. I don't recommend it as a first time traveler. I really want to set you up for success, and I really think that it's great to do the bare minimum, and then if you're asked to pick up extra, you can. But I tell travel nurses, if they see these high paying assignments, look at how many hours they're wanting you to work. A lot of them are 48 hours or 60 hours every single week, and that's really overwhelming. It leaves you no time for yourself, no downtime to schedule, anything on your assignment. And again, one of the biggest things about travel nursing is getting to enjoy that new city that you're in and having those experiences and places that you wouldn't get to have in your hometown. So it's super important I think for being successful long term is and to not overwhelm yourself, to just do the 36 hours. And then after you get that first assignment behind your belt and kind of, you're understanding the ways of things and you've got some confidence built up, then maybe tackle on one of those assignments that is wanting you to work more hours. But for me, I just want to do my 36 hours and collect my paycheck and take care of my patients and go home. That's really important for me. Before as a travel nurse, I always had to work 2 jobs, I feel like, to kind of even make ends meet financially. And when I became a travel nurse, it's the first time that I've been able to not have to work 2 jobs. And so I want to take advantage of that. And it doesn't mean that if you don't have a specific goal in mind, like trying to buy a home or your kids' college, that you need to pick up a contract that's paying more and because of more shifts are required. But for the most part, do your 36 hours and go enjoy yourself. We all need a break.
Definitely. I did have a question. This didn't come through, but kind of speaking about, the overtime and working all those hours, what would you kind of suggest for somebody if they're like really not feeling their assignment, like they don't want to quit it, which, because, you can get, in trouble for just, abandoning an assignment. You don't want to get blacklisted, but kind of what would you say, like they really hate that assignment, but what's your advice on that?
I know that is so hard. And unfortunately, like if you've been traveling for any amount of time, then you have been in that situation. There's some assignments that you like better, and there's some that you literally perhaps may dread. But the biggest thing I can tell you is there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Again, you're only there for 3 months, 13 weeks, which at the moment may feel like an eternity. But after you've been there a month, you have this constant momentum of something new to look forward to. And that really helps take your mind off the bad things. And it kind of like it's self-preservation, perhaps even. You're like, okay, you know what? Like I'm going to get to go to Hawaii next, or you know what? After this assignment, I'm taking some time off and I'm going to take my family on a vacation, or I'm taking some time off and I'm going to sit on the couch for a week, or whatever that is. Like what you need, but there are hard assignments. The biggest thing too is just knowing that you're doing the best that you can, that trying to just know that you're making a difference in your patients' lives, even though when things feel hard, when you feel like you can't win, you can't catch a breath, you are still making a difference. And for me, I have to personally go back to the root of why I became a nurse, why I became a travel nurse, and I have to think about my why. And I talk a lot about your why in Travel Nurse 101 in the preparing stages, because things are going to get hard. It's not always butterflies and rainbows, period, no matter what anybody tells you. And knowing your why keeps you going. And there's even been times where I've had to put a post-it note on my mirror in the bathroom and like, here is your goal. This is what you're trying to do and what you're going to achieve. Or every week have a post-it note. And then as you achieve it, take that one down, check it off. You're checking off your goals, and that's so important, and you're going to be so proud of yourself that you did it. And you're not even going to realize, you're like, how did I survive this? But I'm so proud of myself. Like, look what I am truly capable of if I have to, and then, if things are bad, I'm going to just also say, your clinical team in your company are your resource people. They are there to talk with you, to help you through these tough situations, and to be able to help you navigate that and to say the right things. They want to set you up for success. They don't want you to have to quit your assignment and be so miserable that you want to quit. So they're going to help chat with you and give you some ideas of things you can say and do to perhaps make things better. And again, that's why just working those 36 hours, if things are bad, it's 36 hours a week. You're not tied to working overtime if you don't want to, if you're already kind of miserable.
Count down those hours.
Yes.
Well, Christina, she said, hello, late, but I made it. So she's been one of our regulars. So thank you, Christina, for jumping on. She said, does it make sense to go with an agency supplied housing or find it on my own and take the stipend?
I think that's a great question, Christina. So one of the greatest things about your company is they have a housing department that it's all they do. It's all they're dedicated to doing. So as a first-time traveler, by letting them do your housing, it takes a lot off your plate. You don't have to worry as much. There's so many, again, I say this kind of over and over, but there's so many moving parts in the beginning and so many changes, and it's a little bit overwhelming. So if they could take one thing off of your plate and help you find housing, I say let them do it. They're great at it. That's what they do. And they often can put things in their name. They can pay any upfront like deposits and that sort of thing, and then deduct it from your paycheck. So that's really nice. You don't feel like you have to come up with all of this upfront money. You're already traveling across the United States, perhaps for your assignment, and then transition from going from a staff job to your travel job. There's a few paychecks that you're missing. So having their financial help is super important, and they're great at it. They have relationships with furnish finders and other avenues to really find your housing. So I would utilize them. It's definitely not the only option. For me personally, as I have grown as a travel nurse and have gotten more confidence and really feel like I've learned the ropes of other things, I've tackled the housing myself. And I think that I've had great success with that too. I do travel with my 2 dogs, so it's a little bit more challenging for me to find housing. And it's something that I have a lot of advice and tips about. So I'm happy to chat with you if any of you ever are having trouble finding housing. I have some like little secret things that I do to help me. And so, I think it's good because if you get to pick your own housing and you pick something, off Airbnb, you may not have to stay in a corporate 1-bedroom, 1-bath apartment that perhaps your company puts you up in. And if you're going to have visitors or if you have a dog, you may really want to try to find a place that has a yard. And again, for me, I traveled a lot for the experience and not just the compensation. So I wanted to have a nice place to live. I wanted to be able to have my family to be able to come visit. And I'm kind of a homebody. As much as you see all my adventures, at the end of the day, I like coming home and having a peaceful home to come back to. And so that's really important to me. So sometimes I've splurged and done my own housing just to be able to stay in a little bit of a neater place than I normally would never get to stay in. An example, a couple years ago here in Montana, I got to stay in an Airbnb that was on Flathead Lake. It's one of the prettiest lakes here. And I had like a connection, and her father had this cabin on this lake in Flathead. And it was a little bit more than my stipend, perhaps not much, but it allowed me to stay in this very unique place that I would never, ever, ever have the opportunity of staying at again. Like, it was literally on the lake with the mountains behind it. I had a boat dock that went out into the water, had this beautiful deck that I could go out and enjoy and sit and watch the boats and the sailboats and see the mountains. And, so you can get really creative when you do your own housing, but there is a little more risk to it. So you just have to understand the risk and being willing to take those risks if you do your own housing. But I have lots of advice to help you find housing, so I'm happy to help you.
Definitely. And yeah, Christina said, yes, home comfort is to me as well.
Yes, I agree. It's so important.
Definitely. And Gina said, good advice on housing, especially for new travelers. Definitely. I think definitely as a new traveler would want to go with agency provided. And then once you kind of like get used to it, because if it falls through, you can call them and they'll find you something new usually, or at least keep you up in a hotel for a little while.
Yep. And I've heard lots of horror stories too, and we do sometimes only tend to hear the negative stuff when we see these stories and stuff on Facebook. But, there's a lot of great benefits to having your company help you with housing. It just takes a lot off of your plate, because housing is hard, especially right now with the market that we're in, and things are more expensive than ever. Even Airbnb, I'm looking at one of my last assignments was in the Woodlands in Texas, and I looked on Airbnb and they were like $7,000 a month. I was like, oh my gosh. I'm like, does it come with a pool boy and a chef, a housekeeper? I'm like, I couldn't even afford that. But I was like, what in the world is going on? And literally, like, it was nothing special, and things were going for like $4,000 to $7,000 a month. And I got super lucky. I talk a lot about when you're looking for housing, not only utilize the Gypsies Facebook group, which is Furnish Finders. So many nurses get on there. It's a great way. You can also search the town that your travel assignment's going to be in, and you can see where other travelers have stayed, where they feel like is safe. And also landlords will get on and they will post their property in that town. So it's so nice. It's a great resource for you. I often will also go to the local Facebook housing groups, or like their online buy sell trade for the town where I'm going to. And I make a post there that I'm a travel nurse. I'm going to be there for 3 months and I'm looking for pet friendly housing. And trust me, you do have to weed through the comments, and you have to be careful, obviously, to not get scammed. But I've had some really good success there. And in the Woodlands, actually, I had another nurse that responded to my message, and she had a mom-in-law suite that was attached to their house but had its own private entrance. That I had my own kitchen. We did share laundry, but it had a side yard for the dogs, like literally everything I wanted. And she's like, we just want, like, I saw that you're a nurse and we don't typically advertise it out to just anybody, but we thought that you would be a good fit. And I ended up getting a really good deal on it. And it was a safe place. My dogs had a little side yard. It couldn't have been better. So I've got lots of tricks if we need to pull them, for sure.
Definitely. Yeah, Christina said, very good advice. I'll need the contact info for your connection on Flathead.
Oh, yes. Well, it sold for $800,000. I think last year or the year before, and now the same property would be way over $1 million. So I can't stay there, but you can come in. We can go visit. We can.
Gina wants to know advice on best rental car deals.
That's a great question. I drive to my assignment because I travel with my dogs. And so I don't have the advantage of flying um, or renting a car, but I will find out for you and kind of see who people have used and get back with you. So I would love if you would lead me a way to get back in contact, your email here on the side or whatever. I will reach back out to you and find some resources for you. I do know several people who have shipped their cars. One of my friends went to Alaska and she shipped her car, and honestly, like it was only like $1,000. And when I recently came up from Texas to Montana again a few months ago, gas was almost $1,000 just for a 3-day drive. And so I was like, wow, having your car shipped really isn't that much more, if you're able to fly. So I'll definitely give you some resource.
Too, if you become a registered member on the gypsynurse.com, we do have a discount from Hertz. Nice. So when you log in on the gypsynurse.com, and then in your profile, there will be the Hertz discount in there. So Gina, be sure to, if you're not already a member, I assume you probably are, you're on our lives a lot, or you're in our comments a lot. So we definitely do give a discount for those.
That's awesome. So many great resources that we don't know about.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, go ahead, get on the gypsynurse.com, check out our different resources we have. We got so many, it's so hard to just tell everybody everything, but that's definitely one of the perks. And then also you can get CE, CE credits and everything like that at a discounted rate too from Elite Learning. So
that's awesome.
What's your Instagram, Brandy?
Sure. My Instagram and Facebook is TravNurse101. So feel free to follow along there. My personal is the Travel Nurse Mentor. You can also follow me there as well and see all of my adventure pictures. I normally make a post every day or two, especially when I've been out having adventures here in Montana. The last couple weeks, every time I've been out, I've seen a bear. So lots of bear photos lately. It's spring and they're all out. It's been quite exciting, and I'm always happy to see them from safely, and not being put in a bad situation. So, and you can message me as well at the travelnurse101.com. There's a contact form there as well that you can reach out to me and ask any questions. And I'm always here as a resource for you, no matter what you're doing. Even if you're not thinking about travel nursing, you're just trying to figure out what your career path is going to be. I've done a lot of different things, so I'm happy to always be a resource to you guys. I love helping others and, just want you to be successful and get great pleasure in that. So I'm here if you need me.
Well, we appreciate having you in our community and able to help other travel nurses. They've just been watching the past couple months, and it's just fun to watch, you help everybody. And
thank you. Another thing too, I know there's going to be a lot more news in the media, but TravCon is coming up. And I don't know about you guys, and if you don't know what TravCon is, it's like the biggest convention for travel nurses of the year. And it is so much fun. You don't want to miss it. You're around so many other travelers, and it's just literally the best time. It'll be one of the most memorable things you've ever done. So look into that. Look at getting tickets. It's coming up in September. There's going to be so many good speakers. I was actually I was asked to be a speaker, so I'm really excited about that. So nervous because I am just not the best public speaker. And so thank you all for being showing me grace here, but I've got a lot to do to prepare for TravCon, but it's going to be so much fun. There's so many neat after parties and different things that all the companies are putting on, and you will not regret going. So just be on the lookout for more to come about that too.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And then Gina asked if you would have a booth.
I am. Yes, I am. I'm super excited about it. So I'm ordering some really cool merchandise right now. I'm ordering some unique stuff for giveaways and different stuff like that. If there's anything in particular that you'd love to have, let me know. That way when I'm ordering, I know what to get. But yes, I am going to have a booth there, so you can come meet me, and it's going to be a blast.
Well, that's great. Well, thank you so much again, and thank you everybody for joining us. And we have one more live session on the 12th, so we're gonna have some fun playing What the Meme. So we're gonna have a lot of fun, and be sure to stay posted, and we will be doing all kinds of giveaways. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thanks again.